floor is yours.
Parliament, Mr. Gashi, dear former President Ivanov, members of the Parliament, distinguished excellencies, it's an honor to be here in Skopje and have an opportunity to speak at Skopje Diplomatic Forum. There's one saying which goes like this: when you use the rifle and afterwards a gun, the gun is pretty silent. So in that context, that is how I feel after I need to speak after President Ivanov. Because in his opening remarks, he said a lot of things which I wanted to say and focus on. So I will not repeat that. I will try to add to his speech. So the main question today is how can we strengthen democratic institutions in the very fragmented world, or as President Ivanov said it, how can we fight democratic recession? He already spoken about causes of fragmentation, focusing on socio-economic fragmentation, geopolitical fragmentation, political fragmentation, and I would like to add a little bit on transparency and accountability. I think that institutions must earn trust and not to demand it. That is how that begins with transparency. Citizens must know not only what decisions are made, but why and how those decisions are made. Opening government data, participatory budgeting, and accessible public hearings are not luxuries, they are necessities. Moreover, accountability mechanisms must be real, not symbolic. Independent courts and robust ethical commissions must be protected and strengthened. When leaders face consequences for corruption or abuse of power, trust begins to return. Since I was a Minister of Economy and Sustainable Development, I would like to say a couple of words on pro-democracy economic agenda. One of the most powerful responses to fragmentation is to deliver results fairly, transparently, and decisively. That's where economic policy becomes democratic policy. When people see that reforms lead to rising wages, better services, and more opportunity, democracy regains its legitimacy. But when the system feels closed or slow or unjust, cynicism fills the gap. Let me share some of Croatia's experience in this fragmented environment when it comes to economic policy and strengthening institutions. Croatia's economy has shown resilience. EU funding, tourism, and export diversification have supported our recovery. After the devastation in the 1990s and winning in our war of independence, our country was rebuilt. Not just its cities and roads, but its institutions and its economy. Integration into the European Union, entering Eurozone and Schengen area, investing in energy independence, and reforms in governments helped us emerge stronger. Currently, unemployment rate in Croatia is below 5%. Our GDP growth in 2024 was 3.8%, which was among highest GDP growths in all European Union. And since the start of the pandemic in 2020, Croatia is the only country in the world that had its credit rating upgraded by all three major credit rating agencies, and our credit rating equivalent is of A- currently, which is a signal from the credit rating agencies that we did a lot of reforms in our country, that we have political stability, and that we are very integrated with our European and global partners, and we have a lot of institutional improvements. In 2023, International Monetary Fund officially reclassified Croatia as an advanced economy, elevating it from the previous status of developing economy. So Croatia thus became 38th sovereign nation in this category. I mentioned a little bit energy investment in energy independence. In 2021, LNG terminal on Croatian island of Krk started working and allowed us to be in a much better position after the Russian aggression on Ukraine and big energy crisis than some other European countries. The capacity of LNG terminal in Croatia is 2.9 billion cubic meters when it comes to gas consumption, and all consumption of gas in Croatia, when the industry is working 100%, when there's a lot of gas spending, is 2.9% billion cubic meters. So we can fulfill all our needs when it comes to gas from this LNG terminal. But what we decided to do during the biggest energy crisis is to double the capacities of our LNG terminal, and that is something which I started in order to become an energy hub and supply our neighboring countries with the gas. So big investments in Croatia are currently, let's say, happening when it comes to expanding pipeline network and doubling the capacity of our LNG terminal. And as well, we are investing a lot in geothermal potential in order to use the clean energy to produce electricity in order to be energy independent. So over the past 30 years, Croatia went from low-income country and a significant recipient of development assistance to being high-income country and a global donor. So our lesson is that democracy and peace are not only the result of our victory in the war for independence and resulting ceasefire, it is the product of jobs, it's the product of education, functioning institutions, and future people can believe in. In order to achieve all these previously mentioned results, we had to manage all the crises we've dealt with pretty well. We had pandemics, we had the biggest energy crisis, and we had, unfortunately, 2 devastating earthquakes which happened also in Croatia. So during the biggest energy crisis, we intervened heavily in our economy by limiting the prices of gas, of oil, of electricity, limiting the prices of various products in the retail, and that's the way how we preserved social cohesion, that's the way how we allowed our businesses and economy to grow, and that's the reason why we're advancing when it comes to all these economic indicators, and in the end why credit rating agencies recognize that by increasing our credit rating. Ladies and gentlemen, let me also point out that democracy is not only the absence of conflict, it is the means by which conflict is managed peacefully. It is not about unanimity, it's about legitimacy through pluralism. To strengthen democratic institutions in a fragmented world, we must accept that democracy is always under the construction. It requires vigilance, adaptation, and above all, participation. At its core, democracy is not only a set of procedures, it is a social contract. That contract says, if you contribute, you can succeed. If you play by the rules, you will be protected. If you participate, you will be heard. But when economic inequality deepens and social mobility stagnates, that contract frays. Citizens begin to ask, what is democracy doing for me? Our task is to answer that question, not just with rhetoric, but with policy. I believe that the future of democracy across Europe depends not just on defending institutions, but on reforming them to meet the needs of today's fragmented, unequal, and rapidly changing world with the multifaceted crisis which we deal with every day. So let us make democracy not only something people vote for, but something they feel every day in their schools, on their paychecks, in their homes, and in their futures. Let us strengthen our democracy institutions not simply because they are fragile, but because they are worth of strengthening. Thank you.
Quite right.